rolling. Good morning, business builders. Welcome to Business for Breakfast, where business is the most important meal of the day. I'm your host, Aaron Novinger. Our goal on this channel is to make you 2% smarter today. We're going to unpack business news over the last 24 hours, sprinkled with tips and tricks to help you mind your own business. Now, before we get started that we always have to start with the morning mark. As a business builder or a leader, you understand that the entire world is trying to steal your time. The whole world is a time vampire. I think you guys get that, right? And so I feel that the most important thing that we need to do is make sure we set the mark. What is the most important thing for today, right? Okay, morning mark. I know why you're here. You're here for the morning mark. No props required, no drinks, no gear, just you and a functioning brain. We'll work with what we've got. Wherever you are, a desk, truck, kitchen, job site, standing, sitting, it doesn't matter. Pick one thing you will finish today, not 10, not a list, just one. Now mark it mentally. That's the line in the sand. That's the thing the day doesn't get to erase. This is the pause that sharpens the edge, the moment that turns noise into signal, the tiny act that makes business owners dangerous in a good way. That's the morning mark. Our day has officially started. Let's dive in, shall we? Okay. Let's talk about some business news. All right. I've got to make sure I've got my timer set because y'all know I can talk at a talk. All right. Business news. Get ready, guys. First of all, I want to start with a quote by Gary V. And by the way, you'll see most of the news that I grab is from X. And I've got, I don't know, probably like about 40 business leaders, organizations, and I follow for our business news. Kind of keeps us plugged in for the day. So Gary V, you'll recognize, or Gary Vaynerchuk, the dude is a legend. Here's what he says: life is longer than they tell you kids. He's specifically talking to the latest generation, which I guess is Generation Alpha, right? Gen A. And if you deploy intentions and patience along with an ability to tune them out, you will live a much more joyful life. Give yourself grace. Don't be lazy or complacent, but be patient and thoughtful. Come on, Gary V. What a freaking great way to start the day, right? Okay. Thank you, sir, for setting the tempo of the day for us. And when we talk about this, I refer to this a lot as a purpose crisis that we're seeing today that we've never really seen today before as a generation. And so there was a really great quote. This is like, let's see, I'm trying to think. This was probably, 10 years ago, I guess. I don't know, it's probably that long ago. But the really cool thing about what we do here is we really get a chance to just connect with you guys hanging out on the way to work. So this idea for Business for Breakfast started years and years ago because, to be honest with you, as a business owner, nobody helps us, right? So I want to make sure that you guys get a lot out of this. And the goal for us is just to help you guys learn something today, right? So I want to make sure that we kind of plug in. And so, but I want to jump into our very first story of the day, which is by Fast Company. And we're talking about Gary V. And I really appreciate that guy. I've been a big fan of his since the very beginning when he actually was just running his parents' liquor store. So this is probably 15 years maybe that I've been following him. And he has a very close ear to the marketing ground, and he picks up on vibrations of trends that are coming. And so if you're looking for marketing or tips, please go follow Gary V. The guy is redonk. Yes. All right, let's jump into Fast Company has an article. Culture is an organization's biggest cheat code, but the only way to use it properly is to understand it deeply. Hold on a second. How is it? Okay, good. I was about to say, what? I've got a book here. Pow. It's called Winning by Jack Welch. Winning by Jack Welch. This is your Oprah Book Club nomination here. Okay. So this is our version of that. This book right here is an MBA in a book. You can run $1 billion company with this one book. Jack Welch, arguably one of the greatest CEOs of our generation. Go read this. What does he say? By the way, credited with one of the greatest turnaround stories probably in existence, and that is the GE turnaround story. General Electric in the 80s just became a huge conglomerate. They weren't doing anything. They were just this big blob. And Jack Welch came in and said, no, either we're going to be number one or number two in the industry, but that's it. I was like, and so go see what he says about culture and also human resources. It's the most important thing in an organization. I'm telling you, man, the most important thing in the organization. Okay, so, all right, Fast Company, how work jerks can create toxic cultures, stress out employees, and burnout. Here's how to stop being one. Work jerks. I'll tell you, one of the things that we try really hard to do is to really work on having a strong, healthy culture. Because in the end, culture, if it's not intentional, then by default, you have none, which means culture is, you hear this a lot of times, the thermostat or the thermometer, the thermostat or the thermometer. That is culture. Okay. So the organizations that have strong culture, which would be right here. Delivering Happiness by Tony Hsieh. God rest his soul. Also, one of the greatest CEOs for sure of the 2000s. Tony Hsieh, right here, Delivering Happiness. How he basically turned around Zappos and eventually got it sold to Amazon for $1 billion purely by understanding culture and customer service. This book, mind bending. But what you realize is that the companies like Zappos that have unbelievably strong culture, or just go like look at the list for last year of the top, 10 companies to work for. Okay. So those companies are what we call thermostat companies. Okay. So thermostat companies means you're the ones that sets the temperature. You're the ones that set your core values. You're the ones that sets what you prioritize and what you don't prioritize, right? That all comes from that. But if you don't have that, right, and you're not being intentional, then by default, you're a thermometer, right? Which you guys know, a thermometer, not necessarily a good thing. Okay. I'm going to adjust my camera here real quick. Sorry, guys. Want to make sure I got it dialed in for you. Down a little bit. It's going to take me a little while to get the camera angle right, but I just appreciate you guys and your patience with me. Hopefully, I don't know, maybe a little bit more over here. All right. I think we've got it dialed in. Okay. So company culture for organizations is arguably the most important thing on planet Earth. That's why you'll find very, very strong leaders. When I say leaders, I'm talking like, people like Elon Musk. Hold on, I'm adjusting my camera real quick. So people like Elon Musk who hired the first 1,000 people at Tesla, right? That's because when you understand, like Jack Welch said, in Winning, that human resources and culture is the most important thing in the organization. Because if you have a team of high capacity individuals and you give them enough leeway to get the job done, and everybody has a single minded mission, OMG, like, do you even understand? You're changing the world. You're changing the world. I'm not even exaggerating. Okay. So important stuff, guys, important stuff, right? So organizational health. And that's why if you guys have, drinking my Tulsi tea. If you have team members that you work with that are toxic, you understand that they are cancer, and we understand how fast terminal cancer spreads. In your organization, it's really important to understand that no matter the person or how long they've been there, that no one person is more important than the organization, right? No one person is more important than the organization. That's why it's so important that we focus on hiring very good, high quality people. And remember this, and I say this all the time, guys. Every human being on planet Earth wants to be NAV'd, NAV'd, needed, appreciated, and valued. Everybody does. Okay. So the best way to help somebody feel needed, appreciated, and valued is to put them to work at something that they have a gifting in. So if this person is like, I don't know, like chatty Cathy and they become like best friends with brick walls. Yeah, I kind of feel like that person probably should be doing your customer service. The person who's like a genius at your accounting, who literally high fives everybody in the office because when they balance the monthly budget, it balances to zero. But yet, that person, as soon as they see a group of people around the water cooler, they like go the other way. Yeah, that person probably should not be answering the phones for customer service, right? So that's what I'm saying. You just have to use some wisdom here, man. And nothing is complicated, right? We don't have to stress about this stuff. Okay. All right. Fast Company had an article that came out in the last 24 hours, and it says, here's the headline. In the expensive Colorado City, a modular construction factory is producing affordable homes with Habitat for Humanity and the help of students from area public schools. Let me explain something to you. As I've said yesterday, and I've said for years, I have been obsessed with the tiny home movement since it was just tiny homes out of Portland, I think. And the founder's name was Jay. I can't think of his name, but he's still Tumbleweed Tiny Homes. Like they were like the OG in the tiny home movement, like literally the great grandfather that birthed this entire nation of tiny homes came from Tumbleweed Tiny Homes. Been a fan since day one because if you know anything about ADD likes minimalist simplicity and we like confined spaces. I don't know why, man. It just makes us feel all warm and fuzzy and cozy. I don't know. It's just weird. And so what you're seeing today is something that we really haven't seen before, right? Is the fact that the old way that we used to build really died like 20, 25 years ago, where a couple that gets married in their 20s both has two good careers, and then they go out, and then before we know it, they're able to go out and they go and buy their first house, and in their 20s they have a couple kids, and those days are gone, man. Those days are gone, and that's the reason why it's so important that we look at new ways of innovation. I'll tell you, you guys think what Tesla is an electric car company. You flat out crazy, playa. You is crazy. Okay. You know that Elon Musk, maybe Tesla is investors in Boxable, a also tiny house movement, 400 square foot houses that arrive on scene flat and then they like unfold like this. Whoop, like the walls like fold up like, whoop. Oh my gosh, that just sounded like the Jetsons meet George Jetson? And then like floats away. Oh my gosh. And by the way, that's coming, man. You know that we're going to have Rosie the robots. That is coming. You know that that's what Elon Musk is doing with everything. This guy is building the first everything company. Amazon was the first. This is like the second, except like this is Amazon's everything on Earth. This dude's everything, energy and space and particles and stuff. But robots coming, and we all will have Rosie the robots that are doing everything for us. You just can't. You see what's going in the trends. You know what's happening. It had. And the same thing with affordable housing. This is just fantastic. I love to hear this. Fast Company. In an empowerment culture, leaders start with trust and clarity. Here's what we need to achieve. Here's how we'll communicate. Here are your options of where you can work. Speaking of clarity, I am going to do some serious bragging on Mark Benioff because every year, Benioff, where's my boy? Obviously, we're talking about Salesforce. Okay. So we're talking about clarity. And, yesterday we talked about the power word for 2026. And when it comes to clarity, Rebecca and I, when we go out every year we kind of get away and we'll go away for the weekend to goal plan for us as a family, what the priorities for us are, as well as what the ideas and kind of where we think the direction of the business is going. And so we follow Mark Benioff's exact protocol and recipe for the way Salesforce does their annual goal planning. Okay. Every year, Mark Benioff with his executive team will go and they go away and they take a blank sheet of paper. Okay. And they ignore everything from the previous years. They start with a blank sheet of paper, right? And they ask these 5 questions. Are you ready for this? I'm giving you guys this is like secret flying the wall stuff that the most successful companies on planet Earth that they actually utilize. But here's what's really cool about this. It's not anything that's like over the top. You've heard that before, that God's no respecter of persons. If you have the same talent stack and you do what that person did, you'll have the same success, right? So it's the same thing. Look, nobody helps us as mom and pop Venti shops with how to run our businesses. Nobody does. So unless you have an MBA from a university and you actually know high-level business management and business management concepts, how in the world would you know this stuff, right? So every year, Salesforce top executives gets away, blank sheet of paper, ignores everything else, asks themselves these 5 questions. What do we want as an organization? What's important about it? How do we get it? Number 4, what is preventing us from having it? And number 5, how will we know when we have it? And then Salesforce defines their core values for that year. For instance, trust, customer service, innovation, equality, sustainability, whatever it is. And then they manifest it in the organization by operationalizing it. I'm sorry, it's early. Their values into the company. Did you hear that? Operationalizing it in the organization, basically meaning they sit it on top and they sit in the crock pot and they bake it into all the processes for the year. So everything tastes like that. They bake it into the recipe for the year. So every decision that they make at the end of the week, when they have their weekly huddle, everything is based off of the benchmarks they set for the year. That is the reason why organizations seem so laser focused. Organizations that do this every year kill it. Just kill it because they're focused. It's not hard. Okay. It's meaning it's easy to say, it's hard to do, right? Because again, most organizations are thermometers. They're not thermostats. Organizations that have annual goal planning sessions where they go away and the leadership actually figures out what the plan is for the year, and then they bake it into everyday operations and SOPs for that year. They're so focused, they just destroy everybody else. Focus destroys, man. Focus just destroys. Okay. Let's jump into a great group to follow. Benzinga. More high school seniors say money is extremely important than any other time in the past half century. And Mark Cuban thinks the shift is logical. Okay. Why do you think that is, guys? Why do you think that is? I mean, I have an idea. Okay. To me, looking at what it looks like is we're seeing that during the Gen X time was the very first time that organizations figured out to start renting their product to the consumer rather than selling them a product that the customer now has as an asset, right? So let's go back to the 90s. You remember, you'd go to Office Depot, or Office Max, and you would buy the latest version of Windows, and it was yours. You owned it. You didn't have to do a monthly subscription. My parents, they were so frugal. My parents were in the military. They're in the Navy. And my dad loved watching TV. He was a very hardworking guy. And his favorite pastime thing when he wasn't working his tail off, that last hour of the day was just watching TV. And I remember we would get a TV guide because there was no such thing. Really in the 90s, cable, started coming around, but everybody had just normal TV. So it was whatever was being broadcast. And it's a different time. Today we have to pay for everything. If you can, go back and try to find a checkbook from your grandparents and see what it looked like on a monthly basis during the 60s, 70s, and 80s. If you can find it. And by the way, I'm obsessed with old ledgers. So if you ever know of any, or if you ever want to shoot some my way, please go to speakwithaaron.com and schedule us a time to chat, because I'm obsessed with old ledgers. Like, I've got a couple people that have sent me ledgers from like five and dime stores from like Little House on the Prairie Times, and these big leather bound books of like that graph paper, and everything's handwritten with like number 2 pencils. Was it new number 2? Who knows? Maybe back then it was like number 1 pencils. I don't know. But isn't that crazy? I'm obsessed. But go look. Our grandparents did not spend money. No, they did not. We live in a disposable society where everything is rented to us. They did not, right? Different times, man. Different times. The kids today see that, and they know, they've seen their parents struggle and don't have anything, and like, I'm not doing that. Every generations flow like waves, man. I'm just telling you, they do. Okay. Fast Company has an article. Health is already a popular topic area on ChatGPT. OpenAI is now adding physician expertise and plugins for health apps and records. Do you even know what this means? Okay. And by the way, I probably will only give one plug for somebody to go follow. I lie. It's rare, but if somebody that I follow that really helps change my life, I want to give them props, right? I've been a major fan of Scott Adams since the 90s. And if you know anything about him, he is dying of terminal prostate cancer. And we will see 100 years from now, we'll look back and recognize him as our modern day oracle. He is beyond brilliant. And Scott's been talking about this for a long time, that we're talking within 3 years. Yes, because of gatekeeping, we'll need doctors or people that have some type of license or certification. But we know in the end, very soon, within the next 36 months, this is what Scott's been predicting, that physicians are going to have to rely and, take their basis and their diagnosis and make sure that AI agrees, or that physician could be held liable. You see that? That's what's coming. Okay. So when you hear that OpenAI is adding these little things, we get closer, 2% closer every single week. Everything's 2%, man. Scott talks about this all the time, that his mom used to tell him growing up that, you can get used to anything if you get enough time. And I think it's 100% right. We can get used to anything if you get enough time, right? So we already recognize that computers and automation is already taking over more and more of our daily life. And by the way, I don't think that's a bad thing. Like, for instance, we know that within also the next 36 months, basically full self-driving will be available we know for sure with Tesla, which already is there with their latest version 14.2, and now they've got 14.2.2, and they're coming out with new versions. But Google's Waymo is also right there. But here's the thing. I know that we're afraid of losing control, and I'm not disagreeing with that. I think control is a good thing, right? But also control at what expense, right? So we have to evaluate what we're really losing with control. I mean, you guys look at this thing. Freaking cell phone, okay? We know that we've had the beast of the mark, basically, that's been chipped on us. It just happens to be installed on the outside of our skin. Okay, but for 10 years, we have a chip. We know that, but we're okay with it because we get the value from the device. That's all this is. It's the value, right? So we know that is coming, and it's like this whole thing with medicine and AI, and the same thing with self-driving. Imagine a day, guys, when MAD doesn't need to exist, Mothers Against Drunk Driving. Imagine a day when your high school friend that was tragically killed because they had too much to drink when they left the bar. Those days are gone. Imagine a day where as you're trying to get across the country because you just found out, your parent had a heart attack and you can't keep your eyes open. Imagine a day when you just get in the car at 9 p.m. at night and say, hey, take me, 3 states over. I need to go here, stop here at my charging stations or the gas stations, and you just go to sleep. That's coming. So I know that we don't like giving up control or privacy, but we gain safety from that. And my rule of thumb is if you're not gaining safety, then don't, like don't do it. And that's kind of it's like, look, if we don't get better from it, then let's not do it, But I do believe that we do get better from that, Bull markets, great follow. Alphabet is now the second most valuable company in the world. Did you guys know that? I don't know. Here's a quick little pop quiz for you guys. Number one, I think you guys knew this. Nvidia, number one, but you have to understand they're capitalizing on a trend that is unbelievable. So because of that, obviously, Nvidia AI chip maker is basically supplying the entire world's AI other than basically China and Russia, right? So you're talking a just under 5 trillion with a T, trillion with a T valuation, 4.6 trill. Alphabet, 3.9 trill. We're talking trills, guys. Trills. Okay. Not bills, not mills, trills. The number 3 that is declining, Apple at 3.8 trills. Then we have Microsoft at 3.8 or 3.5. And then Amazon at 2.5 trills, which is hysterical because I know a lot of you guys think that like Walmart and Amazon are competitors, but they're really not. Okay. Like you understand that, let's see, Walmart has a valuation, I think, of 900 billion and Amazon is 2.58, call it 2.6 trillion, 3. So Amazon is 3 times the size of Walmart. Does that not just blow your face off? Like, just think about this. Mr. Bezos has a freaking vision in 1994, I think, starts Amazon in 96, purely with the idea of basically going head to head with Barnes & Noble, thinks he can do a better job than they are, just take Barnes & Noble and put it online. Genius idea, by the way. Working for a huge hedge fund over in New York, decides, you know what, let's go do this, quits the hedge fund, packs he and his wife up, moves to Seattle. Why? Obviously, because the company that's actually valued more than them, which is Microsoft, that's where all their engineers were at. And he knew I needed to move where all the engineers are at because Jeff, again, flipping genius. But if you look, he was valedictorian of his high school. So he is not a dummy. No, he is not. Okay. So when you see the strategy and you also understand that there is no company that I've ever heard of before or after Amazon who is more obsessed with the customer experience than them. I have never heard of before or after any company that is more obsessed with the customer experience than Amazon. This is hand to Bible, gospel truth. 1996, Bezos starts publicly posting his email. And after he starts publicly posting his email, he basically, because he wasn't getting accurate feedback from middle management. And so he starts publicly posting his email at Jeff at Amazon.com or Jay Bezos at Amazon.com because he wants direct access and feedback from the customer to ensure that he is delivering the best customer experience. You talk about somebody that's not talking the talk, but walking the walk, okay? Walking the walk. So it doesn't surprise me that Apple, because if you've played around with Gemini, I feel like Google with Alphabet was a little late in the game with AI with Gemini, but luckily for them, when basically Google has indexed the world's information already, it's not difficult for them to catch up. And I'm not kidding. If you go play around with Gemini, specifically their image generator, their latest version, Nana Banana. Oh, and first of all, is there any company that is better at naming stuff than Alphabet? Okay. Nana Banana. Just go say it. You want to say it 10 times. Ready? Nana banana, 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 nana banana. It's just freaking fun to say, man. Okay. Go play around with that image generator. Think of some cool stuff. Just think of anything. Okay. Throw it in there, see what it spits out. Mind blown. You'll see. I'm not even kidding. Okay. So let's jump into Inc. has an article. Fast food chain Chick-fil-A will be rolling out retro packaging and drinks for its 80th anniversary. Can we talk just for 2 seconds about this amazing company, by the way? Because Chick-fil-A, apologize, guys, moving something on the desk. Chick-fil-A happens to be a company that is and has always been a trend setter. Okay, so I'm going to tell you guys a story about Truett Cathy, the founder. God rest his soul. The man passed a few years ago, but he had a vision for an amazing chicken sandwich organization. Okay, so we have to go back for this story to the 90s. And this is a well-known story, so you can go find this online. Okay, but I'm telling you this because it ties directly into what the latest thing that Chick-fil-A is doing. Okay, always first in the service business is Chick-fil-A. Okay, but this came from Truett Cathy. Okay, so you have to understand, go back, 25 years ago ish. Okay, and this is not going to make any sense to you. Okay, because you're not going to understand what I'm talking about. But in the early days, go back 25 years ago, there was Chick-fil-A. Okay, but Chick-fil-A's number one competitor was who? Boston Market. Okay, Boston Market. Boston Market, okay, had they were destroying Chick-fil-A. And it actually at the time was not called Boston Market, it was called Boston Chicken. Okay, so Boston Chicken is going head to head with Chick-fil-A, selling each of their version of the best chicken sandwich that they can make. Okay. Boston Market has got this massive growth phase. They're killing it. Things are just going crazy for them. Okay. But then something happens. Okay. So the Chick-fil-A executives are, I believe they were in New York. Okay. In a skyscraper looking out the window. And they ended up having this very unique concept. Hold on a second. I just had this thought of a note. And if you know anything about ADD, if you have the thought, you must write it down. So I always keep a pen and a pad for note taking. Okay. So they're in a skyscraper in New York, and it's the board, and they're sitting around trying to figure out how to compete with Chick-fil-A. And they're like, well, they're killing us. And so they're all hours just debating, we need to open up locations. We have a pile of money in the bank. And Truett Cathy is staring out the window. He's not even looking at the table. He's just phased out. He's not even looking. And then after a long period of time, he slowly turns his chair around and he looks at the table and he slams his hand on the desk and looks at everybody and says, I am sick and tired of us talking about getting bigger. If we will focus on getting better, our customer will demand that we get bigger. If we focus on getting better, our customer will demand that we get bigger. Come on, man. And guess what happened? Soon after that, Chick-fil-A launched one of the most successful marketing campaigns in business history. The cows, right? Eat chicken, 2 cows sitting on a billboard with a paintbrush. Chick-fil-A. Because of that one board meeting. And they re-engineered service. They tore it apart. You guys understand there are 6 pillars to service. Okay. And Chick-fil-A took each of them and tore them down and rebuilt it. You guys ready? 6 pillars of service. Chick-fil-A took each of these and said, how do we basically go back to the beginning, like what I was telling you with Salesforce and Mark Benioff? How do we start service with a clean sheet of paper? And Truett Cathy said, we've got to re-engineer all of it, all 6 pieces. Number 1, great product or service. You got to go back to the product and service. What's the taste? We got to go survey our customers. What are we doing right? You guys know the 3x3 survey, right? What are we doing right? What are we doing wrong? And give us some suggestions to fix it. Make it anonymous with your team members, and you're welcome. You just completely you 180'd the culture of your organization by instilling trust in your team members by doing that. Get their feedback, and then bleed it, soak it into the organization, and watch what happens. So number one, great product or service. Number two, you have to re-engineer customer service. Chick-fil-A, my pleasure. Are you kidding me right now? Like, these guys just walk on water. My pleasure. Okay, of course. Number three, accuracy of the order. Guys, this is not just food. Think about the dry cleaner. Think about anything. Okay. I think I was telling you guys that 2 weeks ago, I had a normal experience at the post office. I went in, stood in line. Somebody 3 people up literally was certified mailing like 100 things. And so it was like, rip, peel off stick, rip, 100. Okay. We finally get to the counter, and I just asked for a roll of 100 postcard stamps. That was it. Nothing more, nothing less. I'm at the post office. I'm not at an authorized post office, by the way. I think it's important to mention that. I'm actually at an actual USPS. And the guy says, we're out of those. Yeah, no, I'm not exaggerating. This is not April 1st. No, it's not April Fool's. This is actually January 8th. I'm not, and Ashton is nowhere. So nobody's being punked. The post office had no postcard stamps. I said it right. That's right. None. Okay. You talk about an organization that does not have an ear to the customer, okay, an accuracy of order, and now we understand why everybody is destroying them because of this. Here's what I want. Here's what I need. I just need you to do it. And I'm not expecting you to be perfect. Just do it most of the time. I need you to do it most of the time, right? Number 4, speed of the order, okay? So whatever you're selling, a product or service, how fast you get it to your customer dictates everything. So I promise you, no matter what you do, if you turn a wrench, if you're a mechanic, you right? Why don't you have for these top 20 services, we have a guaranteed 24-hour turnaround, or you get 10% off of your order on us. Come on, man. It's not even hard, okay? But that's what I'm saying. Speed, okay? Number 5, consistency of the product or service, okay? So remember, number 1, great product or service. Number 2, great customer service. Number 3, accuracy of the order. Number 4, speed of the order, right? And again, and that's the order of the product or service, right? So accuracy of the order of the product or service, speed of the order of the product or service. Number 5, consistency of the product or service. And when you guys understand this, what I'm about to explain to you, all the largest tech companies on planet Earth understand this one thing. I'm about to give you a cheat code of human behavior. Okay. And this is also a cheat code for you if you are a service-based business, meaning your job is to create a service for humans. Humans. Okay. A service for humans. Okay. This probably will work for dogs. Actually, it'll work for anything really that's alive. Okay. And it's called the 3 Ps of primal existence. The 3 Ps of primal existence. What are they? Okay. Look, number 1, pain. Number 2, pleasure. And number 3, pattern recognition. Pain, pleasure, pattern recognition. You understand that before Chick-fil-A, the company that was the 1,000-pound gorilla in the fast food space was McDonald's. Why? You might not like Mr. Ray Kroc, who bought the 2 or 3 restaurant chain from the McDonald's. I think it was the McDonald brothers, turned it into the powerhouse that it is. Okay. But you don't understand, that guy re-engineered the franchise process. McDonald's is one of the largest landowners on planet Earth. They made a decision years ago that what they would do is buy the land, own the land, and the franchisee owns the brick and mortar that is on the land. And if the restaurant owner does not comply with McDonald's standards, they don't renew the land lease and they lose their restaurant. They get compliance out of fear. And they got beat by Chick-fil-A. Chick-fil-A does not franchise. They say they do, but they do not, right? You have to pay $10,000. You apply to be a store owner. You're a store manager. You're paid a salary plus a piece of the profits. So McDonald's, the reason how you are able to win the consistency game is by control. And you, as a mom and pop Venti shop, you, one of the amazing business builders, have control over this, direct control over it, right? So consistency of this will quite literally train your customers. That's the reason why we choose a franchise, because we already know the consistency of their product or service. We know it. We as human beings prefer pleasure over pain. And what gives us pleasure is consistency, right? That's why we shop at franchises. We would prefer to shop at a small business. And if we're in our own town that we live, we know the little mom and pop Venti shop restaurants. We know them, okay? And then the sixth piece of overhauling your entire service-based company is being competitively priced, okay? And you guys know we own and run a almost 60-year-old small business accounting firm. So service-based industry is our bread and butter. The mom and pop Venti shops are our, I don't know, they're the sun of our universe. We just revolve and rotate around them, you know? And so it's Chick-fil-A is at it again. We're moving away from, you know, the cows, and now we're doing the retro. It's just really cool to see them go back. Chick-fil-A is always a trendsetter. Let's move into Blackstone shares are tumbling. I wonder why. Oh, here's an article from the White House. Breaking: President Trump announces steps to ban large institutional investors from buying single-family homes. People live in homes, not corporations, quote and unquote. President Donald J. Trump. People live in homes, not corporations. OMG. OMG. This is enormous, man. You understand that that's been a big piece of it. Years and years ago, I owned a construction company with a couple of my buddies, and we really focused on roofing, and it was residential and commercial roofing. But our focus really was on those brand new hedge funds that were buying real estate, right? Like Zillow, Open Door, OfferPad, those companies. And you have no idea. These guys basically had more money than anyone. It was the biggest trend going on. And so they had unlimited funding. And they paid cash. And I'm talking, they revolutionized it, because you've always had wholesalers in real estate. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay. Wholesalers will come in and because these are literally the cruddiest of the crud of the crud of the crud of the street and neighborhood, this person's like, it's going to take $100,000. I got to tear it down to the studs. Just don't want to do it. Okay. That's what I'm talking about. I'm talking about a normal house where they go and they say, okay, here's exactly to the dollar what we got to do to get it to today's standards. Here's the exact fees. Here's your offer. Tell us when you want to close, and we'll set the close date. Not exaggerating. That's what they've done. It's that amazing. Okay. So now you understand where individuals like us, okay, who understand that not all of us want to put 100% of our money in Wall Street. Okay. A lot of us enjoy things, other types of ways of investing, like real estate. Okay. And we understand that for years and years and years, if you wanted a good deal on a piece of property, and you were going to be outbid by a cash buyer from one of these enormous companies that invest in real estate. So when you have a president that comes on the scene and says, no more institutional investors buying residential homes, this is a story that probably, it's just one of the stories on Twitter that just disappears, or X, and it is probably the biggest story of 2026, probably, when it comes to affording homes, because we're talking about the laws of supply and demand. And when you talk about removing the demand because institutional investors are snatching up all the good deals on property. And by the way, are we not in a place today where all of us need good deals on real estate? Come on, man. So I think this is a huge move for the White House and for President Trump. Great move, in my opinion, for everybody. And by the way, I don't lean left or right. You guys will see I never talk politics. I don't like doing that. I've been independent forever. So I'm very positive. If there's news that an administration is doing, I don't really care about the leaning or the color. If it's positive, I'm going to let you know, because remember, Business for Breakfast is about being positive and encouraging with a little bit of news on the way to work. Okay. So next story. JPMorgan Chase has reached a deal to take over the Apple credit card program from Goldman Sachs, according to the people familiar with the matter. Oh, this is so huge. The reason why this is so huge is because Apple has lost focus for years. Okay. So when Steve Jobs passed, there was a rumor, it's never been verified, that basically Steve Jobs handed Tim Cook. So you have to understand, you have Steve Jobs, a great innovator, leader. Okay. Then you have Tim Cook, a good manager. Okay. Organizational people, manager. Okay. Now, you'll see, I mean, Tim Cook does run a tight ship. Phenomenal. I know he's since stepped down, but a great number two past Steve Jobs. Right. So, but understand, Apple is not the company they were. Apple started turning into a GE from the 70s, just a blob that does everything. And because they relied on their brand that honestly Jobs developed in the 90s and in the early 2000s to carry him for 20 years, 10 plus years after Jobs passed. But you can see Apple's brand is changing, man. It's changing. Okay. And so, perfect example. Do you think if Steve Jobs was alive today, that he ever in 10,000 years would have allowed Apple to get into credit cards? No way. I don't see it. Look, I'm not a mind reader. I don't know. It's just my opinion. I don't know. But I'm just saying, I don't think so. Okay. I mean, that's just, you go look, everything he did was about engineering a product better than anybody else. Let's move on to next Forbes article. Radio personality Charlemagne the God recently signed a $200 million deal with iHeartMedia. Now he has ambitious plans to turn his Black Effects network into the BET of podcasting. And can I give him enormous props? The dude is changing lives. I don't know if there's anybody out there that has more influence, that's more public than Charlemagne the God about helping the Black community. And I got to tell you guys something. I was born in California. My parents are in the Navy. So shout out to the Navy and the military. Grew up in Philadelphia because my dad was stationed at a Naval Air Station in Pennsylvania. And honestly, all my friends were Black. Okay. So, but like, nobody grew up in the Northeast, nobody sees color. You just don't really see color. Okay. And actually, to be honest with you, I know I kind of joke about this, but I've always been secretly an Eagles fan, because you cannot grow up in Philadelphia and not be an enormous sports fan of all sports, by the way. So Eagles, Flyers, 76ers, all of them, you just love them all. Okay. And of course the Eagles. And so, but it's just different. And so you grow up there, and success is a skill that has to be taught. That's why oftentimes you see successful parents tend to breed successful kids, because through osmosis and through education, the kids pick up a lot of these traits and therefore success. But if you grow up inner city or, in the kind of the poorer side of town, there's not success around you. So how are you going to learn this? Okay. I just have to give, again, enormous props to Charlemagne the God, because I don't know if there's anybody that's doing more for the Black community and teaching success to not just the Black community, the underserved communities. So great follow on X. Go do it. The guy's amazing. And to see he got an iHeartRadio deal, huge props to him. He deserves it. He's amazing. He wakes up every day. You guys know I talk about my definition of ministry, from being in ministry for 10 years, from my mentor, helping people suffer less. If you make that your mission every day, and if you own and run or manage a service-based company, it's insanely easy to do. Okay. Help people suffer less, and it'll completely change how you see work. And I absolutely believe that what Charlemagne the God does is ministry to him. I really believe it. He's doing amazing work. Forbes comes out. Trump demands 5 million compensation limit for defense CEOs until production pace increases. Wow, man, this is big. This is big. When it comes to defense, I mean, what do we? I don't know. My mindset has always been, if you're doing what you love doing, money should just follow that. Okay, like, you know, do a million different things until you find the things you start doing well to figure out kind of what your talent stack is. And I'm using words from obviously the great Scott Adams. But find your talent stack and keep building on that. And I kind of feel like if you're a CEO of an organization, you're the captain of a cruise ship, all right? And the captain of a cruise ship really has 3 jobs, just 3 jobs, right? Your number one job is to steer your ship to the destination of your choice. You have to lead and steer the ship with the vision that you have, okay? Then you have to make sure your customers are having the time of their life. And number 3, you got to make sure that your team has the resources they need to make sure that your customers are having the time of your life, right? So when you are the owner and CEO of a company, you understand, I've done this for 25 years. In my opinion, you should be the CEO because you love it. The responsibility and the weight of your role requires a capacity that very few people have. And you will see society rewards those based on your capacity. Understand this. Why do you think a brain surgeon is paid more than the family physician? Expertise and capacity. Come on now. We understand, right? The stakes are higher because the CEO makes a mistake, right? Doesn't have an executive council, doesn't have a circle of trust, like doesn't have that. Like, makes a mistake? The whole cruise ship is affected. Whole cruise ship, So the weight and responsibility. You want to know why CEOs get paid what they get paid? I swear, if this was a show, oh my gosh, what if it was a show? Like, what if it was like Undercover Boss, but like, what if it wasn't? Okay, what if it was like CEO for a day, but it was like a normal person that just like works, like basically anybody that talks trash online about CEO comps. Okay, that person, what you should do is take that one person and have a film crew. This would be like the greatest show ever. And for 1 week, film crew makes this person get up and they literally sit right next to the CEO. They sign literally like a phone book NDA, right, of what they see and everything. Because for this to happen, they have to be sitting next to the CEO, okay? And it needs to be just a normal week of a CEO, right? Not a week where it's like everything going on, but just a normal week. And watch this person crumble in a day and a half. You have no concept of the emotional control and capacity of a CEO of a big organization. Their ability to, because this is a key, man. You guys, you got to hear what I'm saying here. Problems are just puzzles, and puzzles are meant to be solved, not felt. Okay. Problems are just puzzles, and puzzles are meant to be solved and not felt. So, good morning, Jay-Z, my bro. Woo! Speaking of one of those CEOs that's killing it and doing amazing work. And we were just talking yesterday, and you talk about emotional control. This guy is like laser focused, no matter what's going on, weight of the world, he's like this. I'm telling you, just go look at old videos of like Mark Zuckerberg, Jeff Bezos. Just go look at the old ones when they first started running their tech company, and go look at them recently. Everybody talks about their cyborgs. They're not. But you become literally triple level, 3rd degree black belt level, like emotional control, like jiu-jitsu, headlock, armbar, emotional control. You'll see the bigger your organization gets, new levels, new devils. You have to learn new levels of emotional control, the bigger the organization gets. It's just the way it is, right? So let's kind of shift into something that I want to kind of share with you guys. Guys, every day I try to share a lesson or something from the 7 plates of business. And you guys know the 7 plates of business, the trade. Okay. So the reason why I have such a heart for the mom and pop Venti shops, and you guys know Venti does not mean large because of Starbucks. It means 20. Venti means 20. So 1 to 20 employees. So, the smaller businesses, okay, that don't necessarily have enormous amounts of revenue and resources. Okay. You have to understand something. We have to spin all these plates as the owner, the trade, what we do every day when the doors are open 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 or 7 to 2, or for the donut store, 6 to noon, whatever it is. Okay. The trade, plate 2, the accounting plate. It's universally the one plate most business owners hate spinning, which is why we gladly and we love spinning that plate for our business owners. And we've been doing it as an organization for almost 60 years. But let's go to the next plate. Sales and marketing. Yeah, you're going to get customers in the door. We're going to spin the HR plate. How do we hire people? How do we pay them? Right. Don't forget, we've got to spin the customer service plate. Customer service, like success, is a skill. It's a skill that is taught and learned. It's not absorbed. It's not automatic. It's not in your genes. Okay. You got to learn customer service, right? And what we're talking about today is going to be the 4 C's of customer service. Okay. The 4 C's of feedback, right? And then we've talked about the IT plate, and then we talk about the logistics plate. And when I talk about logistics, I'm talking about the most efficient way between point A and point B. And so for me, you'll hear me talk a lot about logistics, systems and processes, right? Building things to scale. So, and use a rule of thumb. If you do something more than 5 times, write that process down. If whatever you do has more than 5 steps, write that process down. Okay, so just write that stuff down. But today, I want to focus on the customer service plate. And this is a big shout out to everybody that's on with me. This is day 2 of our live show, Business for Breakfast. And you guys know the purpose of the show is simple. I just wanted a show on the way to work for me, a mom and pop venti shop owner who wants to be encouraged on the way to work. Why? Because I feel like we're the hardest working people on planet Earth, and we're on an island by ourselves. I feel like that's the way it is. Okay. So, I've just spent 25 years learning how to do everything wrong. I was like, look, what if we just hang out, talk about news, just hang out with each other, encourage each other, inspire each other, and we just have a little bit better of a day, right? Easy cheesy, right? So let's talk about the 4 C's of feedback. All right, ready? Comments, criticisms, complaints, compliments, the 4 C's of feedback. Most people think 3 are bad and 1 is good. And in actuality, 3 are great and 1 is okay. Okay. As a CEO and or owner, founder of the organization, that is literally one of your most primary jobs, to have the closest ear to your customer. And to be honest with you, you guys know, I was telling you before about, my buddy Justin is on, and this guy runs an enormous company, like strong 8 figures. And you know that the customers have his direct cell number. That is him practicing level 2 management that I talk about all the time, that Jeff Bezos started in 1996, where Jeff started publicly posting his email for his customers. And my buddy does the same thing, level 2 management. If your customer has an issue, get rid of everybody else. Let him go straight to the top decision maker that can listen and make changes in 24 hours. That's the secret, right? That's the secret. And my buddy is dominating his industry. Oh, I wonder why. Big secret. Closest ear to the customer? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Great systems process? I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe. So, make sure you guys understand. Do not, in your business, I understand this. We all run mom and pop venti shops. I get it. We take our business personally, and we should. But then we receive feedback and we take it personally, and we shouldn't. Okay. We need to take the comments, the criticism, and the complaints, and we need to remove, and we need to adopt the best idea wins concept. If you as an owner and you as a manager will do this one thing, it will completely revolutionize your entire organization today. This one thing. Okay. The next time you have a meeting, you have a decision to make, and you've got a team. And by the way, as an owner, if you don't have an executive council, like the top 3 to 7 people, like my rule is like Jesus, don't go above 12, but like have a small executive council. You should pass everything through, right? But dude, I'm telling you right now, if you guys will just focus purely on leading your organization. And as the CEO, if you guys, every decision you make, if you start it with this one core value, it's not my idea or your idea, but the best idea that wins. It's not my idea or your idea, but the best idea that wins. What happens is it most of our ideas are attached to us, right? It's attached to our ego. So when you say it's the best idea that wins, you just identified it as an idea detached from you, and it floats above your head. Now they're just ideas, not your idea or her idea or his idea. It's just an idea. And as a team, you vote on it and majority wins. Sometimes it's the owner that wins. Most of the time it's not. But you are gaining trust and you're helping your team feel noved, needed, appreciated, and valued. Every human being that walks planet Earth wants to feel all of those things. And what's the best way to do it than get people's guidance? I want to help on this, guys. I got an idea, but look, you guys know the council, your job's basically to what? Shoot holes and make it look like Swiss cheese. This is my idea. What do you guys think? Good, bad, or ugly? You tell me. I don't care. That's what I'm saying. That's if you guys have that mindset, it really does kind of change your life. Speaking of changing lives, you know that I'm a big fan of Scott Adams, and he recently, he's right now working through terminal cancer, and I want to finish every day. And as a matter of fact, my 2026 Dilbert calendar is on its way from Amazon. And by the way, the only way you can get it is from Amazon. And by the way, they're almost sold out. So I had to get one before they did. And what we'll do is we'll start every day with one of his comics, and we'll finish each day with one of his reframes from his latest book, How to Reframe Your Brain. And reframes don't make any sense. I can't explain why they work. I just know that they work. Okay. And so there's so many of them that have changed my life and I'll tell you some down the road. Okay. But I really want to focus on one point from each of his points of the book, and please go to Amazon and buy the book. I think 100 years from now, we'll look back and call him our modern day oracle. He's just, I don't know, man. In fact, he's terminal. I want to honor him every single day as much as I possibly can, because he's helped change my life that much. Today's reframe. And he said, he was talking about going on dates. And he said, you might go on 10 dates before finding a good romantic match, or you might try 10 side jobs before one fits and becomes your career. Think of it this way. The usual frame, I fail at 90% of the things I try. The new reframe, I only need to succeed 10% of the time. You can choose to feel like a loser every time something doesn't work out, or you can reframe your situation as a winner's journey that might take some time. I recommend the winner's reframe. Okay. And I'll tell you, organizations that focus on experimenting, and honestly, Bezos is probably the best. Go online and look for YouTube videos of Bezos experimenting. Okay. And you'll find this dude, literally, I'm not exaggerating, I think he probably said it best. And he says, look, the companies that experiment the most typically win. And he said, think about it. An experiment. The definition of an experiment, you don't actually know how it's turning out. I'm like, okay, well, that's actually pretty genius. And he's valedictorian, so I'm assuming he's a genius. And he openly talks about some of his biggest open failures. Pets.com. You guys remember the Amazon phone? Right? But look at some of the acquisitions or ideas, AWS, Zappos.com, right? So you got to understand, most of what you do an experiment, but remember, the organization that has the closest ear to the customer typically wins, right? And if you guys focus on practicing level 2 management and making sure that your customers have direct access to you as an owner, and then when you receive the feedback, you don't make the cardinal sin of taking the feedback personally, and you focus on the 4 C's of feedback: comments, criticism, complaints, and compliments, and reverse how you think of them, where the first 3 are actually great and you can't wait to receive them, because that is a customer who is broadcasting, telegraphing to you, if you do this one thing, I'm going to give you more money, or I'm going to keep giving you my money. Most customers don't give feedback to small business because most small business owners take the feedback personally. You can't do it. You can't. I hope today, our second episode of Business for Breakfast, encouraged you guys. Trying to talk about business news. Just want to help you guys get 2% smarter every day. That's the goal on our daily Business for Breakfast channel. That wraps up another lesson on our daily breakfast show. Couple things to focus on. Number one, you guys know, if you've known me ever, I'm obsessed with accountability and I love mastermind groups. And we're starting our very first mastermind group up here at the first of the month. If you are interested in mastermind groups, this is fantastic. Just do me a favor. Go to my personal scheduling website, speakwithaaron.com, and schedule us just a quick time to chat about masterminds. In my opinion, in 12 weeks, we're about to start one with me and a small group of friends. 6 to 8 members is usually great, but if you have questions about it, I try to start a mastermind at the first of each month. And so we'll get everything dialed in and get ready to roll. And but yes, they're very short, 12 weeks typically, and you will get more done in 12 weeks than you did the last 2 years. So if you are interested, you have questions, speakwithaaron.com. Also, we're getting into 2026 tax season, and we've got new updates for tax season, especially with the new OBBBA, One Big Beautiful Bill Act. Not ABBA as in also the amazing band from the 70s, which is a BBA, okay? But if you guys need help with your small biz, and again, we love the mom and pop Venti shops, service-based. We've done that for almost 60 years. We can give you guys guidance, speakwithaaron.com. And by the way, if you guys have questions, I want to answer that stuff directly or on the show. So go to businessforbreakfastradio.com, and that's the podcast. That's the channel's like direct page. You can just type in a question. It goes directly to me. I'll answer you directly or read it on air. And with that, guys, I hope that you guys have an amazing Thursday, right? You want to know why? Because you guys are amazing. And I'll see you guys bright and early tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. I appreciate you guys more than you know. Have a great day. Talk to you soon. Peace.